It's war in Brazil. We've never seen anything like this right in the middle of downtown Rio de Janeiro. Already 140 dead, and that's in just a single day. So when I say it's war, I mean real urban combat, the kind you'd see in an actual war zone in a real war between nations. All this started from an operation launched by the state governor who decided it was time to put an end to the country's drug trafficking problem. And by the way, that word war came directly from his mouth. Yesterday, he decided to launch the biggest police operation the country has ever seen to end the narco trafficking issue. And it's probably also connected to COP30, which is about to take place in Brazil. Around 200 countries will gather to discuss climate change. So, the governor launched a massive raid involving the police and the military police. Open quote, 5:20 at Palacio Guanabara. It's an important day for Rio de Janeiro. Today marks the largest operation in the history of our police forces. Close quote. It's also worth noting that everyone has long known where the gangs and cartels are located, so they already knew where to go pick them up. The first raid went relatively well, about 64 arrests in a short time, although many managed to escape. Hundreds of weapons seized, dozens of heavy weapons, not to mention the drugs and narcotics that were confiscated. They were pleased with that. The problem came when Brazil's biggest cartel decided it disagreed. That's how the Belo cartel, the largest in the country, decided to strike back, harder. It's the first time, I think, in history that gangs and traffickers have used methods seen on actual battlefields against the police. Here, the Brazilian police. The cartel, unbeknownst to anyone, had been preparing for a massive confrontation for a long time. They ambushed the police using drones that dropped explosives, FPV drones, the same ultra-fast bomb-loaded ones used in Ukraine and other conflicts to attack law enforcement. So yes, the police went to war. At this point, the narco traffickers have been reclassified as narco terrorists, and 2,500 officers have been deployed on the ground to eliminate them. There are now more than 140 dead, people who will never open their eyes again. And although most are on the gang side, there are also many police officers, and sadly, civilians caught in the crossfire who had no choice. What's also crazy is that the current governor who launched this operation, Claudio Castro, is from the political right, even with ties to the far right in Brazil. Meanwhile, the current president and federal government are on the left. Before launching this operation, the governor asked the left-wing president and government for support. They refused, saying, "No, this is the wrong method. There's too much needless violence. Too many people will die. We refuse." But the governor said, "We tried to get them to surrender peacefully. They didn't want to go to prison." So he launched the operation anyway. And when everything spiraled out of control, when gangs began dropping explosives from the sky, the left-wing president still refused to assist the governor or his operation. How could a governor launch such an operation if the president is against it? Because in Brazil, governors are the commanders-in-chief of their state's police and military police. They have the authority to decide. That's why he went ahead. It's unbelievable, really. I think it's the first time we're seeing this kind of urban combat filmed in full 4K, 60 FPS. It's terrifying. Right now, it's literally like a Call of Duty PvP server. They're shooting each other, both sides using heavy weapons. The gangs quickly blocked all the roads because they know their biggest threat is the police's armored vehicles. No matter how brave you are, you can't do much against a multi-ton armored vehicle. So they blocked and barricaded everything with burning cars. The police responded with even bigger, more heavily armored vehicles to smash through the barricades and advance. But if you look closely, they've built those barricades every 150 meters or so. That makes it extremely hard for police to move forward. They have to go on foot, can't use their vehicles for protection, and that's why police casualties are rising. And the craziest part, this is happening in the city center. So when the fighting moves a few blocks, civilians come out trying to live their lives, putting out fires, moving cars, trying to survive. They're literally hostages caught between two fires. There's another astonishing detail. You could make a Netflix series out of this. The gangs, especially the Belo cartel, the most dangerous one causing most of the destruction, are positioned on higher ground. The city itself is built like a staircase, sloping upward. That gives the gangs a strategic advantage. The police are fighting from below, and the criminals can see and shoot down on them easily. The police are at a huge disadvantage. I also found footage showing the police seizing systems set up by the gangs to monitor police radio frequencies, both civil and military, so they could anticipate their movements. Open quote, production, radio here. Monitoring the frequency, not sure if it's civil police or military police. Look, it's connected, powered. Close quote. Even when the police finally storm a villa to eliminate those inside, the houses themselves turn into traps because traffickers in higher villas can shoot down at them. There are now so many victims, entire vans full of bodies. I won't show them, but they're unloading them like cargo because the numbers are so high. Of course, some people are taking advantage of the chaos to loot stores. There are always people like that. Open quote, they tried to loot the store, man, at Tarare. I just came to buy coffee powder and they were looting, man. Carts full of meat, beer, all kinds of stuff. Close quote. Now, Brazil's left and far left are saying this is all the right's fault, that the governor ordered a massacre of civilians, that it's unacceptable to use such lethal force against drug traffickers. Amnesty International is also condemning the governor, calling this terrible, possibly even a crime against humanity, saying it's outrageous to use lethal force against people who, yes, kill others daily, but who apparently still must be protected. You can see this pattern everywhere. The left, especially the far left, defending everyone, even people who perhaps don't deserve it. Let me remind you again, my channel got a strike because YouTube says my videos deal with problematic subjects. So please subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow for another video.